Hey everyone and welcome. I hope you all had a great Mother's Day, those of you that could, obviously. And yes, Oxfam, if you're listening, I'm saying mother, because I don't care if I offend the perpetually offended. In fact, I quite enjoy offending them. If you didn't know, Oxfam have just released a massive destruction of family and English language pamphlet aimed at inclusivity, you know, all of the woke words. And it's just been released, and to be honest, it's abhorrent self-hatred. Things like removing mother and father because a certain group might be a little bit offended about it. Things like the English language is a language of colonisers, etc, etc. So, shut up, Oxfam.
And I do believe that we have rotten politics, and I'm not using that as an exaggeration.
Anyway, let's get into the reason for the video, shall I? Now, I saw this posted on Twatterer, where the twats go to hang out, attacking Lee Anderson, the Red Wall Conservative, with plenty of great things to say. Now, this says, Lee Anderson makes Tommy Robinson look like a responsible adult and intellectual heavyweight. And here it is. Make England great again, or mega, and I mean England. For far too long we've wasted far too much time on trying to keep the rest of the United Kingdom happy. But think of it this way. Name me one thing that Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland has done to make an Englishman proud. Precisely nothing. All we've had is one long moan. It's not fair, we want more. Well, I say is enough is enough. Time for England to put England first. The sooner the rest of the UK understands that what's good for England is good for them, the better. Now, reading that, I said to myself, obviously after I stopped laughing, did he really say that, or is it a really bad attempt at a smear? Because you can never tell nowadays, can you? Well, it turns out it's fake, made up by the sensationalist extreme Guardian from a month ago. But before we move on, anyone disagree with the mega statement? Anyone? Let me know if you do, or don't, in the comments. Right, I got sidetracked again. Let's look at the smear attempt that actually makes him leader potential, in my opinion. Here it is. Now, this was written by John Crace. That's the political sketch writer for The Guardian, not by Lee himself. This was meant as a smear article to paint Lee as an evil tyrant, but I'll be honest, it reads like a very funny wish list. So let's read through it, shall we? Just for shits and giggles. It's titled, Bring Back Hanging and Real Men, Making the Tories Great Again by Lee Anderson. And it's supposed to be, The Guardian has given exclusive access to the new deputy chair of the party's 10-point plan. Let's have a listen to this 10-point plan that they're trying to say is evil, and I'm actually saying sounds pretty bloody good to me. Now, we've already heard number one, make England great again, so let's go through the rest, shall we? The next up, capital punishment. There is currently an epidemic of violent crime in the country. Even the police, God bless them, are at it. People think they can get away with murder these days, but it's got to stop. So now is the time to bring back hanging. Have you ever heard of a person who has been executed going on a re-offending spree? Nope, so clearly it works as a deterrent. And who cares if you occasionally kill the wrong person? Even if they hadn't done that crime, they would probably have gone on to commit another. So no harm done. In any case, you can get too hung up on the innocence and due process of the law. In any clampdown on serious crime, there will be some collateral damage. People are far too squeamish. We could even introduce public executions. I'm sure people would want to pay to see them. Tory party members could have priority booking. What do you think? I actually think most of that's correct. Obviously, killing the wrong person wouldn't be a good thing, but as a deterrent, capital punishment works. Now, if you want to see proof of that, you just have to look to when capital punishment was abolished in the UK. Because murders and violent crimes went up 135% pretty much immediately. Fact. So it does work as a deterrent. Next up, we've got food banks. The country's gone soft. Everyone knows you can eat like a king on 30p a day. So if you're struggling to make ends meet, then you just don't know how to budget. That's pretty true. It would be a struggle on 30p. You wouldn't be living like a king, but you could obviously make a big pan of stew and eat that for the week. So technically, it is true. So it's time to get rid of all food banks. They merely encourage people to overeat and not to take responsibility for their own lives. If people want to eat, they should learn to get a job and not waste their money on trying to heat their homes. They should realise their place in life and just put on a coat. Now, obviously, Some of what is said in here is what Lee has actually said, but the rest of it is embellishment, sensationalising it. Extremes is what this is. So when he says you can live off 30p a day, technically you can. Would you live like a king? Probably not, but you could survive on 30p a day. Whether people agree with that or not is beside the point. Facts are facts. Next up, English football. There's a reason the English men's team haven't won the World Cup since 1966. Now, a lot of this will actually resonate with a lot of working class men. Back then, the players were real men. You wouldn't have caught Bobby Moore, Jackie Charlton, and all the other heroes taking the knee for Black Lives Matter. What a load of woke nonsense. So come on, England, give us a team which we can be proud. Now, I actually agree. Bobby Moore, Jack Charlton and all of the other heroes wouldn't have had time for political posturing. They wouldn't have had time for any of that. They just wanted to play football and play it well. Next up, we've got discipline. Kids these days think they can do what they like. Give them a clip round the ear when you catch them littering at a bus stop, and they start yelling about being violated and threaten to take you to the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg. If Brexit means anything, then we should all have the right to taser oiks in the street. You see what I mean about this smeared article actually making him sound bloody brilliant? Schools should bring back corporal punishment. 6 strokes of the birch, and children would think twice about talking back to a teacher. Now, as someone that's an older generation, 50 years old, I actually know for a fact that fearing your teacher makes you a lot more intelligent because you listen a lot more, don't you? So it is true. And he's put his respect, that's what we need, and I agree with that. Next up, we've got the BBC. Ooh, the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation that does everything to destroy Britain. Just saying, we've had more than enough of the so-called British Broadcasting Corporation. It may have once served a purpose, but now all it does is talk England down with its relentless, woke, multicultural, intersectional, I would say as well, agenda. I don't know what part of England it thinks it represents. Oh, I do. Metropolitan bubble. Or should I say, the London metropolitan bubble. Or should I say, the Westminster metropolitan bubble. But I don't see my life reflected on any of its programmes. No one does, really. It's reached the point where you can't even install a Tory donor through the establishment backdoor's chair without half the country being up in arms. Absolute ridiculousness, isn't it? What we want is GB News to become our national broadcaster. I wouldn't be too upset about that, to be honest. Someone who understands English values and English news. Bring on Lawrence Fox. Now, I disagree with that. I think Lawrence Fox is a bit of a wet wash, to be honest. And while we're on about it, sorry, Lawrence, we can also get rid of that pinko rag, The Guardian. No, this has been printed in The Guardian as well. So this is a Guardian article slagging off The Guardian. Spot on. Based. Next up, we got small boats. Ooh, now here we're getting into the juices. You won't find any true patriot who doesn't think the country has been overrun with immigrants. Is that a fact or not? So some employers can't fill their vacancies. Well, I say far better to run the economy into the ground than have the wrong kind of workers. First and foremost, though, we've got to stop the small boats crossing the channel. Right now, we're as good as saying, please do come. Yeah, but we're waving a big flag, a big surrender flag, a big white flag to the world, effectively. Are we not? And when they come to take possession, we're going to put them up in the swankiest hotels. Woo! We put them up in 5-star hotels and don't even deport them to Rwanda. We don't report them to anywhere. Even if they're criminals and convict in this country, we don't send them back. It's time for more drastic action, I agree. Either we need to send out gunboats and shoot them out the water, or we need to mine the Kent beaches. As soon as the Albanians see TV pictures of their compatriots getting blown to pieces, they'll stop making the crossing. Now, I know this is satire by the writer, but he's not wrong either, is he? Now, obviously, I completely disavow all violence. I don't like wars or anything like that, but I think every nation in the world should have the right to protect its own borders. Otherwise, what's the point in having them? Next up, we've got the NHS. We can all see the health system is overstretched, so we need to make some tough choices. For a start, we can get rid of the interpretation service. We are an English health service, so all appointments should be in English. I agree with that. Try and go to, I don't know, Indonesia and speak English in the A&E. See how far you get. If a patient wants to see a doctor who speaks Urdu, they should go to Pakistan. It's also time to stop treating people for conditions that result from their own lifestyle choices. As far as I'm concerned, and this applies to English people moving abroad, if you're moving to a country and you've got the arrogance to not learn the national language, that's on you, not the nation. Sorry, don't care if you don't like that. It's also time to stop treating people for conditions that result from their own lifestyle choices. Offering surgery for cancers and heart disease brought on by obesity only encourages people to overeat. People need to learn there are real consequences for their actions. Fat people should just be allowed to die. See what I mean about sensationalism and the extremes? The one exemption is for smoking. Cigarettes are part of what helped England win the war. Of course they are. You see why I brought this to you? It's comedy gold, isn't it? School curriculum. 2 left. School curriculum and identity. Let's do the school curriculum. Yet another part of English life is that has fallen victim to the wokerati. You can't move without some new book being banned or issued with a trigger warning or being completely rewritten by the sensitivity squad. Back in my day, we cheered when the albatross got it in the neck. When we read The Ancient Mariner, the bird had it coming. Now kids break down in tears, sobbing when it croaks. Worst of all is the history syllabus. Since when did England have to get all apologetic for having an empire? Which is true, considering a lot of nations had empires that don't have to apologise, but we did. Why is that? Because we did it the best, maybe? Far from saying sorry, we should be glorifying our past. I do. On a daily basis. We should also concentrate a lot more on the people that matter, the kings and queens, though maybe not Prince Harry, or Jug Ears, to be honest. Now, monarchy. That's a different question and maybe a subject for the future, so I'll leave that one with you. Next up, we've got identity. Aren't you sick of not being able to tell if someone is a man or a woman? I know I am. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but you can. So all men should be made to have short hair, while women's hair must come down to at least below their ears. This is something preposterous. There's no way he said this. Then we'll know. And pronouns should be as they were. Him for a man, her for a woman. Just to keep it simple. People who are confused about their gender should make up their minds. We should also get rid of the title Ms. Women can go back to Miss or Mrs. That way we will all know exactly where we are. Hard to disagree with some of that. So there we have it, a smear piece by The Guardian that slags itself off in the smear piece and then lists out what I would class as a wish list from an MP. I would love it if he'd actually said most of these things, and it would probably make him, in my opinion, a prospect for leadership. Let me know what you think though, everyone. I'd like to know your opinion. Do you think it's just like a tick list for sanity? It does sound like it to me, and them making this up is just proving he's getting to them. So I would actually say to Lee, maybe you're in the wrong party because they don't hold the same opinions as you and the rest of the nation, which has become evident recently. So maybe you're in the wrong party, but don't stop saying what you're saying, because everybody that I know and everyone around those people all seem to be in the same frame of mind as yourself. Let me know what your opinions are, though. Do you agree with most of that? What do you disagree with? I'd like to have a conversation. Happy Mother's Day if you're a mother. I know it's a day late, but I wasn't on yesterday, so happy Mother's Day. It's a deserved day for you. Stay sane. I'll see you on the next one.